Good evening, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and, well, I said I was going to do a final prediction video. By the way, likes, comments, subscriptions if you like the content or just want to tell me I'm smoking crack, because apparently some people in the comments have thought that. Anyway, cheers. This is the eve. This is election eve. And today we're sponsored by Ardbeg. No, we aren't, but I really wish they would sponsor me. No, I wouldn't be opposed. Anyway, so I got off of work, I drove home, I ate, and that's why and cleaned up, obviously, and that's why I'm like this. Listen, it's been a fun ride. So we're looking at the Senate map, and a handful of things have changed. I think I moved New Hampshire into the tilt category. Arizona, I've actually flipped from tilt Democrat to tilt Republican because I saw quite a few polls showing it basically dead even. And then I saw a Data for Progress poll, which is a Democratic-aligned pollster and tends to have a Democratic House effect, show that Blake Masters was ahead of Mark Kelly. And that was basically enough for me to say, that's enough for me to flip it. And, of course, Kari Lake is gonna help boost Masters because Kari Lake is far more popular and is a respected news anchor from Phoenix, because apparently that's worth something in terms of candidate quality. Washington, you'll notice, is closer than Colorado, and that's just true. Though if something really weird happens, I can see O'Day winning that. Georgia, I've been saying it all year, and people have been calling me crazy all year. But UVA's Center for Politics, Larry Sabato, just put Georgia in the leans Republican category. He still thinks a runoff is the most likely outcome, but that's enough for me to say move it out of the tilt Republican category to move it into leans. And then quite a few people have moved Pennsylvania into the leans Republican category. And this is, again, vindicating what I saw in the debate and the discussion afterwards. The rest is just showing how confident I am in my forecasts. Wisconsin, Ohio, Iowa, North Carolina, Iowa actually got less safe over the course of the year. And that's because polling indicated that Grassley was not doing as well as he usually does in this sort of thing. And Florida, Rubio's way too strong of a candidate in a Republican favorable environment. So we're going to move over to the House, where right now I'm predicting Republicans are having a pretty solid night. And the thing is, there were quite a few toss-up or leans race where I'm like, I don't think the Republicans are going to actually pull it off. Alaska, Nevada 4, New Mexico 1, I want to say this is Colorado 7, Illinois 13, Georgia 2 is polling close, but it probably won't be. Virginia 7, though I am pretty bullish on Republicans in some areas, maybe more so than I should. There's a handful of toss-up New York districts. There's one Long Island district if we zoom in, and that's what I'm going to get to in the actual discussion today. That got moved to leans Republican, which I thought was a little bit funky. And then, of course, Connecticut, again, maybe I'm a little bullish here on the GOP. Same thing with Rhode Island and New Hampshire and Maine. But overall, I think this is fair, but like I said, it is bullish. And I'll get to that in just a second. Governor's races, not much has changed. Truth be told, things could still get a little bit funky. And governor's races are the weird ones this cycle, it seems. But hey, it'll be interesting. So what am I going to be looking at? Well, first things first, in the Senate, we need to be looking at the early reporting states. So those are Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, and Georgia. Those are going to start us off at 7 o'clock. And then at 7:30, we're going to have Ohio and North Carolina, as well as West Virginia for the House races. But those are going to start to give us an indication of how well Republicans are actually doing. And paying attention to House races is going to be very key. Virginia is another one. So in Indiana, pay attention to Indiana 1 right here. This is Gary, Indiana. Pay attention to Virginia 2 and Virginia 7. And down in Georgia, pay attention to Georgia 2. Then as we move on into the night, be paying attention to some of these smaller House races, like Rhode Island 2, Connecticut 5, some of these eastern Pennsylvania seats as well. Pay attention to the Long Island seat. And then as we get, again, further and further on into the night, start looking at places like Minnesota 2, Michigan 3, 7, 8, Texas 15, 28, 34, and so on and so forth. If Republicans are outperforming their poll numbers consistently, and in the gubernatorial races, pay attention to New York. New York and Georgia and Florida early on in the evening, and then Wisconsin, Michigan as well as the night goes on. And again, if Republicans are outperforming, it's a sign that they're doing really well. In the Senate, Georgia's the big one. Georgia is the big one in the Senate to pay attention to, as well as the sleeper race of New Hampshire. Again, if Republicans are doing well in these elections, they're having a good night across the board. And some of the more outside shots become a possibility, such as, say, some of these seats in California, maybe even the 12th, if I remember correctly, Oregon's 4th. Hey, Alaska might be on the table again, even though Peltola she's a solid candidate. I mean, obviously she won the special election, though ranked choice voting kind of is a little bit funky. It is what it is. But yeah, so that's pretty much my updated forecast. I'm going to be keeping this and basically comparing it to what really happens on Election Day. So take it easy. Have a very nice evening, and hopefully everything is peaceful tomorrow. Bye-bye.